H-1B visas. The debate started on Sunday after Trump named venture capitalist Sriram Krishnan as his advisor on AI policy. Entrepreneur David Sachs noted in the response to Krishnan, saying advocates for removing country-specific caps on green cards, not lifting caps entirely. On Wednesday, the world's richest man, who has benefited from the H-1 program himself, Elon Musk, wrote a response on social media that in America, there are not enough super talented and super motivated engineers in the United States. Quote, the number of people who are super talented and super motivated in the United States is far too low. Think of this as a pro sports team. If you want your team to win the championship, you need to recruit top talent wherever they may be. That enables the whole team to win. In another post, he wrote that, quote, a shortage of excellent engineering talent is a fundamental limiting factor in Silicon Valley. Vivek Ramaswamy came out and wrote this very, very long tweet, a controversial tweet, where he said, quote, a reason the top tech companies often hire foreign-born and first-generation engineers over native-born Americans, isn't because of an innate American IQ deficit. A key part of it comes down to culture. So now this internet firestorm ensued, where effectively the debate was around H-1B visas. Now, this is not something that I thought we'd be talking about on the 27th of December. However, just understand that this was seen 71 million times on Twitter. 71 million times. So an H-1B visa is a non-immigrant visa category in the United States that allows U.S. employers to temporarily employ foreign workers in specialized occupations. These occupations generally require a bachelor's degree or higher or some equivalent. It's used almost primarily in the tech space. Now, this is used by big tech. It's a subsidy given by the federal government for big tech, where little tech is not always able to capitalize on this type of subsidy. Now, you must understand that when it comes to H-1B visas, the worker for that company cannot leave that job. They cannot go work for another company. It is a form of international, tech-driven, indentured servitude. But now they're using it for even more entry-level accountants and stuff like that. H-1B visas have been widely abused. It sounds good, by the way. I mean, as its premise, it sounds, we want the world's best people. That is a good premise to operate from. But in reality, H-1B visas are a disaster. Here is 60 Minutes, of all places, that did a very, very powerful report on how H-1B visas are actually putting American workers first. President Trump just won a landslide victory, a triumphant victory, saying Americans come first. Cut 54 is the erosion of our sacred social contract. Play cut 54.
It wasn't called training your replacement. It was called knowledge transfer.
Craig D'Angelo worked for Northeast Utilities, now called Eversource, and was one of 220 IT workers replaced by H-1B visa employees. D'Angelo says his replacement, a worker from India, told him he was making half D'Angelo's salary with no benefits.
I didn't get laid off for lack of work. I got laid off because somebody cheaper could do my job.
Now, in its ideal, the H-1B visa is used for people you can't find other Americans to do that job, that it's only for high tech, like people with PhDs. In reality, it's being used for entry-level accountants. It's being used for people that are at the entry level of the job ladder. This is another example of Cut 67 of how the H-1B visa has become inherently fraudulent against the American people. Play Cut 67.
Leo Pereiro had just received high performance reviews from Disney. When he was called into a personnel meeting, he expected a raise and a promotion.
And instead,
I was given the news that in 90 days, my job was over, and I had to train my replacement. Never in my life did I imagine, until this happened at Disney, that I could be sitting at my desk and somebody would be flown in from another country, right, sit at my same desk and chair and take over what I was doing. It was the most humiliating and demoralizing thing I've ever gone through in my life.
The biggest companies who hate us the most, that have smeared us, slandered us, and transed our kids, are the ones that are pushing for more foreign labor into the top levels of our corporations and our entry levels. Now, I want to be very clear about where we stand on this. We are opposed to the mass importations of H-1 visas to the United States. Here are the facts. The H-1B visa program is heavily abused by these major multi-trillion-dollar companies and software firms generally to bring in workers at lower wages than they would have to pay Americans. Another reason companies use them is that H-1B visas, like I say, is indentured servitude. They can't leave that job. Now, there's a really good argument, and I sympathize with this, to be honest, an argument for letting in talented people to the United States. I think that's a great argument. No issue on that. But the H-1B system is not that. It is a way to depress wages and replace American workers. If you want to let in an ultra-talented genius, we have actually a different visa for that. It's called O-1 visa. We could also change our system, but right now, America lets in 55,000 immigrants a year through the diversity lottery. Imagine if we got rid of that, and instead of letting 10,000 people a year who score the highest on a difficult test of IQ plus English language proficiency with strict controls to prevent cheating and to keep out anybody with a criminal record, that would let in a lot of talented people who would make America a better country. America is a rich country that hundreds of millions of people want to move to. There's no excuse for not exploiting that to let in the only ones we want to let in the absolute most. This is a violation of our social contract. And it sounds good. Let's just let more H-1B workers in. But what about the 23-year-old that went to University of Washington and studied computer science at the UW Computer Science Department? Shouldn't he be given preference above someone who could do the work for far less? It is about priorities, and it's not about what Charlie Kirk wants. It's not about what other people want out there. And I have friends on both sides of this debate. It's very simple. It's what the American people wanted. And the American people overwhelmingly voted for less immigration and the prioritization of the American children and the American worker, not the American oligarch.